You're listening to the weekly wrap-up on Sprott Money News.
Well, greetings once again from Sprott Money News and SprottMoney.com. It's Friday, August 31st, what might be the last day of summer. And this is your weekly wrap-up. I'm your host, Craig Hemke, and joining us is Eric Sprott. Eric, good morning.
Hey, Craig. Good to be here. You know, one of the things about the gold business, you're always happy when any month ends because we have options expiry and all sorts of weird things that happen at the month end. So we're always looking forward to the beginning of the month rather than the end of the month.
No, that's for sure. And we always like to get it behind us. And it is kind of, again, the end of summer. We've got a 3-day holiday weekend coming up here in the U.S., and that often means the end of summer. And so with that in mind, the folks at Sprott Money have an exciting announcement. Our end of summer sale is on. Everybody always looks forward to this every year. Sprott Money is offering great deals all weekend long on some very special products. Click on the Deals tab at SprottMoney.com or just simply call us, 888-861-0775 for more details. And the deals just keep getting better. Prices are actually flat to down this week, Eric, at levels that we haven't seen for over a year. And if there's ever a time to be stacking, it's now. How do you feel about where we stand here at the end of the summer?
Well, I think things are shaping up. It was interesting after our call on Friday, the gold price really rocketed up. I think because Governor Bullard suggested that maybe we don't need any more rate hikes, and the Chinese came in to support the Chinese yuan, which you've written a lot about the relationship between the Chinese currency and the price of gold. And I would say that there's when you look at sort of the macro things that seem to be going on in the financial world, there's a lot of reason to think that more and more people should be thinking about gold. And I would just lead off with the currencies, the emerging market currencies that are all getting hammered here. And so as I reflected on it, about 94% of the world's population has seen their currencies decline. India, Indonesia, I mean, we've had huge declines in these currencies, and these people typically are gold-friendly people. So I would think that there's going to be some extra buying of gold in here for people trying to protect against currency debasement.
And really not just physical gold, Eric. The way that the global banks, particularly the EU banks, own these emerging market countries' debt, you get that kind of daisy chain effect. If even just one of these countries begins to melt down, have a liquidity crisis, that could spill over into market weakness like it did back in the summer of 2015, and we might get people actually looking to buy digital gold exposure on the COMEX too.
Absolutely. Well, you know, it's interesting. All the economists, whenever they see a currency weakening, they automatically suggest that, you know, the central bank has to raise the rates. And I think it was Argentina where they raised their rates to 60%, something like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's fine for an economist to sit there and say, well, that will help the currency. Well, let's just put ourselves with the guy who's living in the country that has a business. And now all of a sudden his banker says, well, we want you to pay 60% on your loan. Well, that can't last too long, right? It's such a prohibitive cost that things happen negatively in that economy, and you can bring on that liquidity crisis. So we'll have to stand by in that. We have a lot of countries where they are using that technique of raising rates, and I just don't know what happens in those countries. It's hard for me to imagine that things stay normal when you got a 60% central bank rate.
Yeah, and at the root of this, Eric, is the dollar rally that caught a lot of us by surprise back in April and May, and the dollar index rallied about 6 or 7% in 6 weeks. It's at least been stable ever since. What do you make of the dollar? We're going to probably get another rate hike here in 2 weeks, but there are a lot of other cross currents out there. Do you think we see more dollar strength? Does this emerging market thing kind of feed on itself and make the dollar go even higher? Or what is your forecast there?
Well, you know, I think when Jerome Powell spoke at Jackson Hole, he's kind of left it open that, you know, the Fed could go either way, i.e. we're going to keep looking at the data here, and if the data doesn't confirm, then we're not going to go ahead with things. Now, I think they will do the September rate increase because theoretically things are strong, and so they believe they're strong. GDP came in at 4.2% in the second quarter. Not that we necessarily believe it. Consumer comfort was strong, so they probably have a basis for increasing. But there's lots of other macro things that aren't working well, including anything related to housing is weakening off here. We have all these reports about the sort of lower class and middle class are making no headway. As you know, President Trump suggested that non-military federal employees will not get a pay increase in 2019. And I'm sort of thinking to myself, well, how's that going to work for the next consumer confidence report, Yeah. And heaven forbid that the states and municipalities kind of tag along here, and you end up at 30 to 40% of the population not getting a wage increase, while inflation, of course, keeps moving up here. I don't believe the statistics. We've talked about that before. So I think there's some doubt about that December rate increase. And of course, if the discussion a la the Bullard comments start saying, well, maybe we don't need that increase, of course, that would be very powerful for gold here.
Set off maybe a short covering rally, Eric, and maybe we'll just conclude there. We're going to get another Commitment of Traders report today. And I suspect, at least on my end, that it will get a little bit of a move back in the other direction where the speculators maybe have started to cover shorts, particularly in silver. But Eric, what do you make of this? You sure would think we are poised for a tremendous short covering rally. The extent of managed money, the hedge funds, the trading funds that are short that digital gold exposure on the COMEX. You sure would think that's just a fuse that's waited to be lit.
Well, there's no doubt between the sentiment being as poor as it is, the technicals being as oversold as they are, the short position being as high as it is. Those are three of the primary ingredients in suggesting that you should be bottoming here. And needless to say, we've had a decent rally already. I don't know exactly what the low was in gold, but it seems to me it was at least down to the 1170s somewhere. We're today at 1210. So we have a decent rally going on here. So no, I think that the COT setup is good. There's still a lot of volatility in the gold price. Yesterday was down sharply. I think 2 days ago it was down sharply. And when I see it going down quickly, like in 2 and 3 and 4 minutes at a time, I always think of the hedge funds trying to manipulate the price of gold down, and they might in fact be making their short position even worse here.
Right.
So it'll be really interesting to see the report. I'm surprised there wasn't as much covering of shorts in the last week's report, considering that we look like we might have bottomed. So I think that is very much supportive of both precious metals here.
And now next week, Eric, we get back to having all hands on deck. This is traditionally a very light volume, big vacation week for traders, what traders there are left, human carbon-based traders at least, both in New York and in Europe. But we have a holiday weekend this weekend, and then it's kind of back to, like I said, full staff trading desks and everything next week. Maybe we'll get a return to some volatility, some additional volatility, and maybe a trend change.
Well, I think, as I said, that the fact that the options have expired, typically they mess around with the price of gold when options are expiring. So that's good. I think, whenever I see the Indian rupee declining, and I think of the people in India, which is a huge population, they're going to pick gold before they pick the U.S. dollar, okay?
Right.
So anybody over there who's trying to protect themselves, and that's a lot of people, are going to be buyers of gold. And there's not just the people either. It's the companies have to think about how do they protect themselves with the currency declining at the rate that it's declining. So, there's got to be a lot of people just thinking about, well, it doesn't take much at the margin of new buyers to come in to make a big price change. And, of course, having the whole short setup is like, man, it could have some real fireworks. And
again, when it's the commercials, the banks who are short, they have infinitely deep pockets and at least allegedly some metal to deliver. A hedge fund that's short doesn't have that luxury, do they?
Yeah. No. Once it starts going, they got to really recalibrate quickly.
All right. Well, and as we said, we are now kind of at the unofficial end of summer, and this is the last day of August. So as we wrap up, I just want to point out to everybody that the folks at Sprott Money have a very exciting deal for storage clients here in the month of September only. Storage clients can buy Sprott rounds at just 89 cents over spot per ounce and Sprott bars at 79 cents per ounce. That's for storage clients. If you're not a storage client, become one. You can take advantage of this deal just simply by opening a storage account with us, and you'll get access to this exclusive offer. Again, just visit SprottMoney.com or call 888-861-0775 to open that storage account. And again, check the deal tab for great deals over the weekend too. Eric, thank you for your time this morning. I hope you enjoy what should be a 3-day weekend, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Okay, Craig.
And from all of us here at Sprott Money News and SprottMoney.com, thank you for listening. Have a great holiday weekend if you're allowed one, and we'll talk to you next Friday.